Giants fall 24-3 at home. Prime time. A giant embarrassment, if you will. An embarrassing loss. you know, to me, this loss was more embarrassing than the blowout against Dallas week one. Against Dallas, you know what you were going up against. You're going up against a top three defense. I thought that was a game the Giants could have won. Obviously, I was wrong. I thought going into this game, looking at Seattle's deficiencies, the Giants having 11 days to prep for this game, a defense looking to improve off of a bad game against the 49ers, an offense looking to bounce back after a piss poor performance against the 49ers, let alone this entire season. Haven't been able to score a touchdown in the first half in every game this entire season. We are the only team that has not been able to score a touchdown in the first half of a game this entire season. Let that sink in, folks. And this game falls on everyone. I personally thought the Giants had a chance beating Seattle. Again, looking at their deficiencies, the defense looking to be improved. Despite the Giants having their own deficiencies, especially at the offensive line, this isn't the 49ers defense. This isn't Dallas's defense. They had a secondary that was giving up 27 points a game. And the Giants couldn't score a touchdown. This game falls on everyone. Daniel Jones, this offensive line especially, Brian Dable, Bobby Johnson, Thomas McGahee. The list goes on. This offensive line, you know, we have seen some really bad offensive lines as Giants fans, but I don't think I've seen an offensive line be this atrocious. 11 sacks were given up just tonight alone. 11 sacks. This Giants team made them look like the Legion of Boom 2.0. That's how bad this offensive line was. Now, granted, and we're going to get to Daniel Jones in a second, he didn't make the situation any better. This offensive line didn't give Daniel Jones a shot. He had a lot to blame, don't get me wrong. And again, we're going to talk about that. Okay? You have to hold him responsible because he played horrible in this game. But this offensive line also didn't give him a shot either. This offensive line looked horrendous. Evan Neal, I'm sorry. Until proven otherwise, he has the bust label slapped right on his back. He's a bust. He looked absolutely atrocious out there. He looked lost. He's been looking lost since we've drafted him. And we expected, I personally, as well, I'm sure as um, a lot of Giants fans hoped and expected him to take that next step forward in his sophomore season and be the right tackle that we drafted him to be, seventh overall. At least show signs of improvement. And he showed none. He showed none whatsoever. This offensive line is atrocious, and Bobby Johnson needs to be fired tonight. Tonight. I know some people will say, you can only blame him so much. The offensive line, there's no depth, there's no talent at depth. We have players out. I get that. And now we have John Michael Schmitz out, which we'll see how bad that is because it's apparently a shoulder injury. Hope the best for him. But despite the offensive line being inept with talent outside of Andrew Thomas and John Michael Schmitz, you could throw Ben Bredesen in there, but he had a really bad performance tonight. This offensive line is atrocious, and Bobby Johnson isn't making them better. Something has to change. I'm sorry. I know it's a short week. You're about to go against a very good team in the Miami Dolphins who just dropped 70 points on the Denver Broncos. Almost broke the sing- almost broke the single game record in points. That should be a fun one. This game falls on everyone. Daniel Jones. Let's talk about it. Daniel Jones had one of the worst, if not the worst, performance I've seen in his entire career. This was an atrocious, embarrassing performance by Daniel Jones. Brian Dable's ripping into Daniel Jones. He even threw the tablet on the bench next to him, looked fed up with him. You don't want to see that. I'm sure he'll say that he probably should have been better in that situation. But I think Brian Dable was expressing how most of Giants Nation was feeling, because most of Giants Nation, if you ask, is fed up with Daniel Jones. And I'm one of the biggest Daniel Jones supporters that you will see on this app and on Twitter. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking over that edge on the Daniel Jones train. He looked horrendous tonight. Missed Wandale on a couple plays wide open. Pocket awareness was horrible. Threw one of the worst interceptions I've seen to Devon Witherspoon. Took it to a touchdown for a pick six. He anticipated a throw to Paris Campbell. Ended up being an interception by Quandre Diggs. Excuse me. Fumbled the ball twice. He had another piss poor performance. And he's not making his case look any better. And you can only make so many excuses for the guy. I'm sorry, you can only make so many excuses for him. And again, I'm one of the biggest DJ supporters, but at the same time, we got to be real with ourselves. Daniel Jones, he looked lost out there. He looked shell-shocked. He looked like Sam Darnold going against the Patriots defense. He looked lost out there. And it's unfortunate. You really hate to see it. You would expect to at least see a better performance by Daniel Jones, knowing that secondary could be had to a degree. But it looked like they couldn't even be had at all. Now, before we get to the defense, special teams, man. Thomas McGahee, he's another one. He needs to be fired tonight. Special teams has been an absolute it's been an absolute problem for the New York Giants. When thinking about it, it used to be one of our strengths. It's now a liability. I believe 6 penalties against the special teams unit this game. 6. You can't have that. That's not rocket science. You can't have that. And this isn't just this game. This is damn near every game where our special teams is looking horrendous. And it looks worse game after game after game. Now, this defense, look, bad tackling is still a problem. That's evident. Look at that Noah Fant play. Almost took it to the house. If not for Isaiah Simmons dragging him down. Piss poor performance in tackling. Run game was decent, but Seattle had their way with us in the run game. DK Metcalf was taking advantage of Deontay Banks. The rookie's going to learn, but he completely took advantage of Deontay Banks. And you got to give credit to Seattle, man. I said in my video with the Hawks Nest 206 podcast, Geno Smith is an underrated quarterback. He's accurate. If you give him time, he will take apart your secondary. He'll take those shots. He'll take those chances. The game was a little bit chippy, between both teams. Geno Smith was fired up. This defense looked fired up. Kayvon Thibodeau getting 2 sacks. Other than that, Dexter Lawrence doing his thing, creating pressure. That led to a missed field goal by Seattle. Micah McFadden, and all of this, if you could take a silver lining in all of this, he's been looking fairly impressive this season, especially in coverage. So that's nice. But other than that, this defense it's not looking improved. Wink Martindale said chart him, and I know a lot of Giants fans did, and it did not look good tonight. And you know what? For me personally, I thought the defense did okay. It's these long drives are killing them. They finally get off the field. The offense is having the three and out. They got to get right back on the field. The defense is tired. They're agitated. You saw some flags on the defense due to that. But bad tackling is still a problem. It is a problem. Our run defense is still a problem. I mean, again, this loss falls on everyone. It doesn't fall on just one person. This loss falls on everyone. This Giants offense looked anemic. I mean, it was nice to see Wandale get some touches. You saw his role become a little bit more prominent. You kind of saw what the Giants' plans are going to be for Wandale Robinson, and I'm very excited for that. But the Giants' offense was anemic, and that's putting it nice. They didn't target Darren Waller more than what, two times. That's a recipe for failure. You don't even try to get him the ball. Play calling was beyond horrible for Mike Kafka, or was it Brian Dable? We'll see. But just an overall embarrassing performance by this team. I'm scratching my head at a lot of things. Speaking back on the special teams, why was Adoree Jackson at punt returner again? Did Brian Dable and Joe Shane not learn their lesson last year, putting Adoree Jackson at punt returner and him getting himself injured? You have Sterling Shepard not barely getting any snaps. You have players like Paris Campbell, Gary Brightwell, I'm sure. Anyone besides Adoree Jackson. This Giants secondary can't afford any injuries. This defense can't afford any injuries, despite how horrible this defense is. It's horrible. And it's frustrating because there was expectations for this team. And you're going against the Miami Dolphins, who again just put up 70 points against the Broncos. They actually might break the single game record that game against the New York Giants. Buffalo, you already know that's gonna be prime time money right there. Brian Dable going back to where it all started with Josh Allen, Joe Shane as well. That's a Super Bowl contending team. So are the Dolphins. That's not going to be easy at all. I pray for Daniel Jones. I pray for this offensive line because if Seattle's putting up 11 sacks on this defense, they might each put up 20. Just keeping it real with y'all. Um, it sucks, but much love to the Seahawk fans. Y'all deserve it. Y'all played y'all heart out, and yeah, definitely eat my crow on that one. But the Giants have a lot of soul searching that they have to do. They really have to look at themselves in the mirror and address the problems at hand. And the first two is firing Bobby Johnson and Thomas McGahee to start. And even then, you got a long list to go. But we'll get through this. We'll get through this. It hurts, but we'll get through this, Giants fans. But if not, hey, Caleb Williams? Nah, let me stop. Let me stop. But look, guys, let us know your thoughts below. An embarrassing loss. But we'll be all right, guys. We'll be all right. One game at a time. Let us know your thoughts below. Join the Hit Squad. You can find us on Twitter as well. The link will be in the description box below. We'll see you guys on the next video.